Hey guys, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about freelancers that I have worked with. A couple episodes ago, I showed the pitch deck that I was working on, and it included some sneak peeks of assets that I have, which I have not migrated to the project yet. So I'm going to cover how I came to work with freelancers to develop these assets, like the character you see on screen. This is Westin, our main character, along with Dia and our environment art and other concept art and UI. So I thought that would be interesting to some people who are looking to get some freelance support. So I'm going to give a sneak peek behind the scenes of that. Let's start with the character Weston. So what you see on screen is a character created in Reallusion. I started working with Reallusion because it seemed like a beginner-friendly tool for character development or character design and including animation. So it's Reallusion's Character Creator 4. I had tried learning Blender, but it was a bit difficult for me. And aside from the difficulty, it was very time consuming to learn an entirely new software and trade with 3D modeling when I really wanted to focus on game development. So I'll show you kind of a multi-step workflow of how this character was designed. First, I reached out to a concept artist on Fiverr, and I reached out to that artist because I actually went to a Comic-Con in my hometown, and I saw that a booth had some trading cards of a game that he invented, and I really liked the artwork. And I asked him, "Where did you get this artwork done?" And it was fantasy related. It wasn't really even human characters, but it was like space and aliens. And he referred me to the Fiverr artist that I'll show in just a moment, White Ghoul Studios. But that's how I got connected with White Ghoul Studios. And then in summary, what I wanted was a character to resemble my son Weston, who the game's name is based off of. I wanted something unique to the character, so I asked for some veins to be especially noticeable on only one arm. The amulet that he has on with these little marbles was inspired from Final Fantasy VII's materia. And then the wardrobe itself had inspiration from Zelda. And then this actual dagger, I saw something similar in person, um, probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it inspired me to include it here as his basic weapon. So I pulled some thoughts together and I used some Gen AI to kind of get some rough draft concepts, but I really wanted to work with a concept artist who has a professional touch in concept art for characters. Right when I was using the Gen AI, it was like in 2023 or 2024 when it just started popping up, and it was frowned upon in the gaming industry. And I really wanted to just do in the most possible way was do things, I guess, the right way as far as character development and game development went, at least to a reasonable extent as far as using AI goes. So let me show this profile and I'll link him in the description. This is Rizal from White Ghoul Studio. You can check out his portfolio. He's got lots of work for character development. And I reached out to him and we discussed it through Fiverr, and then this was the end product for the concept art. So with that, and after a few iterations and revisions, I wanted to have the character developed in Character Creator because I had tested the tool and it was, like I mentioned before, it's beginner friendly and something that I was comfortable with. So if something, for instance, was created in Blender or Maya, I would have to make sure, one, that I had a license to use it, Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to access it. But two, I wanted something that I would be able to modify as needed and import it into Unreal Engine, and it has to have connectors. So it was important for me to find somebody on Fiverr that could create characters with Reallusion's character creator. So I found Adam. And working with Adam, we took the concept art and made it into a stylized type of character that you see here on the, what's it called, on the slide here. So you can see he's got the veins, the amulet, the shoes, much more cartoonish look, because I told him that let's go for kind of like a hand-painted type of look or art style. So I'm really happy with this, how this turned out. So that's how this character came about, along with the similar process and the same artist for Dia. And then I have one other character too that I have not shown yet. But that's really the character pipeline of working with Fiverr professionals. I had a good experience, so that's why I'm happy to share these artists that I worked with. Then came environment art. This went very well for me, and I wanted to do something similar for environment art. So first, I worked with Sarah to create this. I described my needs. Again, used my own Gen AI and said, like, I like some examples from this reference and some examples from that reference. And then I said, let's create a subtle W into the peak of the mountain that is the end goal for the character. So I really liked how this turned out. And I recently even have another reference. So we're going to continue building this with our map for our vertical slice. We're going to continue developing this now with another reference. I'm excited to do that. And Sarah has been awesome to work with as well. Oh, and one of the parameters that I asked Sarah to do, I asked her, I said, hey, if possible, let's try to limit the amount of assets that will be in the concept art, because the purpose and what I'm going to do next is work with a 3D modeler to create assets that can be used to create a map based on the concept art. So I said, let's limit it to as few unique assets as possible. I think that's helpful, because that way, when I worked with the 3D modeler, I didn't have like 120 assets. For instance, one boulder was used only once. It was fairly repeatable. You see, like, a lot of the same trees are used, a lot of the same small rocks and big boulders are used. These bubbles have some repetition throughout, so it's very purposeful. All of the assets you see here, along with the textures, the color tone palette has just slightly variations of green and red and overall a dark tone. And then the same thing for the next reference, which was I asked to take a different frame of view closer towards the mountain with some open space for some battles and additional trails leading up to the mountain. So I really like how this next art turned out. From there, I took that concept art and worked with Nico over at Stylized Studio. Nico was awesome to work with. We worked on a few orders because I broke them out into milestones, and he was happy to do so. So for instance, we didn't work on everything at once. For instance, we worked on trees, a couple of versions of trees, a couple of versions of brush, a couple of versions of textures. So Nico was really awesome to work with to create the actual assets. Then I worked with Pixel Dynamics for UI. So I haven't implemented it into the game yet, but I did work with Pixel Dynamics to create some basic UI. So this was included in the slide deck, and what you see here is an overlay with a color tone that matches my game and my branding. And all of these are customizable because what we are given or what is delivered is a folder with all of the individual PNG files. Everything from arrows, highlighted, unhighlighted, that you see here. So this is really cool, and with so many individual files, it's very customizable. I was very happy with this result. This is just like a demo. And the last freelancer that I've worked with has been Ian. Ian, so I have all of this kind of project that I'm leading going on, and I really needed an advisor or a mentor because this is not anywhere near my professional like day job. So I really wanted somebody that I could connect with and ask from simple to complex questions. And Ian has been awesome to work with. I'm trying to meet with Ian just once a month to check in and give me some direction at a high level. So I've met with Ian 2 or 3 times now, and super happy to continue working with Ian. And then, of course, I'm working with Unreal Habitat on the actual environment blockout, and he's got a bunch of good content already posted, and I covered him in the last episode. So it's a lot of freelance work that I'm getting, but this has been over the course of almost 2 years now. And I think you just have to, or what I was thinking of, like the message would be is, if you have the resources, you can use some freelancing. I have some resources, so that's been helpful. But for instance, a resource I don't have is time. So if you have lots of time to learn all these individual softwares and tools, then that's awesome, and I would recommend to do that. But in one thing I'm limited with is time, and I have to make up for that somehow. So that's been working with these Fiverr professionals, and it's been very helpful. But at the same time, you have to budget, and it helps if it's spread out. So like for me, I've been doing this, working with the first concept artist back in, I think, early 2024. So everything adds up. I'm really happy with how this is coming along. But I thought it'd be interesting to cover a Fiverr video, especially because I'm on travel with some limited time, just like I was talking about. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody.